this is a as you get older, change isn't something that you want to do. And so you kind of fight it, you know, because you're used to doing things a certain way and you like being comfortable, you like knowing how to do it, you know, it takes effort to learn. And so you just want to keep everything the same. But once you just get out there a little and try it, you go, huh, how about this? My most recent discovery is this new mop they make that keeps your dirty water and your clean water separated. Now, how cool is that? That is so cool. Do you know how many years we have mopped our floors with dirty water?
Yep, quite a few.
So that was a change that I completely welcomed because I feel like I mop more because I feel like I'm actually doing something. Versus before, I knew in my head that I was just putting dirty water back on the floor. I didn't really understand what we were doing. So anyway, that's just one example of, that's not even computer technology, but it's technology that requires us to make a little bit of a change. So we don't always want to learn new things and do things different, but I appreciate especially that your generation who really didn't grow up with computers. Not one time in school did you have a computer to do anything on. So it's big time for y'all, and I appreciate it. So we can go ahead and get started. Today is August the 30th. My son turns 18 years old today.
Oh my goodness.
I can't even believe I'm old enough to have an adult child. I kidded my husband yesterday. I said, honey, sometimes I look around the house and I'm hunting the adult. And I know that that's me, but I don't feel like an adult sometimes. And it's
wait till you have great grandchildren running around.
I look forward to it. I do, but time is just warpy the way, you know, it gets away from you. And I'm not young like in my mind I am. But I guess if I can fool myself to believe I'm younger, maybe I'll have a life in a lot of years ahead. Let me move my poster back in its place, and we will get our bodies warmed up. And if anybody else joins us, hopefully Miss Betty will join us. I know Miss Gwen, her schedule is maybe not allowing her to do what she would like to do and come to class. But if you're rewatching, hi Gwen, we miss seeing your face, and hopefully we'll get to see you soon. But anyway, we want to walk around, just get our bodies warmed up. I don't like to walk backwards generally because there's a danger in it, but I'm on a camera, so I can actually see myself. I know that there's nothing behind me. I see a chair back there, but I'm not going to run into it. This chair looks like it's poking out, but it's not poking out as much as it looks on camera. But you don't want to have any kind of trip hazard. So anytime you're walking around a room, you want to make sure there's nothing on the floor, especially if you have children that have visited or been there. They tend to leave little things around, and that can be a trip hazard. So in the name of warming up and staying in the cameras, I tend to walk back and forth to stay in view. But I pump my arms and open and close my hands just to get my body nice and warmed up and ready for movement. If we move our bodies when they're cold, it increases our chance of injury. All right, here's Miss Betty. Let me let her in, Miss Betty. All right, welcome, Miss Betty. Glad you're here. So the first thing that we want to do before we start our movements is thinking about body awareness and body structure. We want to have our feet about shoulder width apart. I tend to hold mine a little wider than shoulder width. That feels most stable for me. My weight is on both legs. I have good posture, like a string that goes up my spine all the way to the ceiling. So I'm nice and supported in my stance. And there's something about Tai Chi particular that teaches us how to hold ourselves outside of class so that we're less likely to have pain and tension in our bodies. And it starts with this nice supportive structure. So the first exercises that we do, they don't have any leg movement. So if you have balance issues, this is the first three, the neck, shoulders, and spine movement are good ones to do seated because you don't have leg movements. So if you have balance issues or if you wear out easily, start off seated, and then when we get to our hip, knees, and our ankles really can be done easily seated, but our hips and knees are probably most beneficially done in a standing position. But there are seated versions of those movements. So here we go. Let's start with our neck. We're going to bring our hands up, palms down. Bring our hands towards our chin and chest. Push away from our bodies, and then follow our hands all the way down as our chin goes to our chest. Let me move a little closer to the camera. But you know what my legs are doing. They're about shoulder width apart. My weight's on both legs. So my hands come up, palms down, towards my chin and chest. Push away from my body, and then follow those hands all the way down. You should feel a little stretch in the back of your neck. Come back up, towards my chin and chest, push away, and follow those hands all the way down. Now, in terms of breathing, because breathing is so important, I like to inhale as I bring those hands up, and then whenever I'm ready, whenever my lungs are ready to exhale, I exhale all that air, completely emptying my lungs. There's Miss Gwen. All right. The next movement for our neck, we bring our hands up, palms down towards our chin and chest. So it starts out that same way. Bring one hand down, and now follow this hand as you look towards that shoulder, feeling that slight stretch in your neck, and then coming back to the front, switching hands, following that hand as you look towards that shoulder, feeling that nice stretch, come back to the front and switch. So we're going side to side. We're not going as far as we can go. We're just going till we feel that nice stretch. So it is a neck movement. Our body is staying forward. Only our neck is moving. And we're kind of following our hands as if it were a mirror. In terms of breathing, I like to inhale as I switch my hands, and then exhale as I make that movement to the side and back to the front. Of course, all of our lungs are different, so you may be ready to inhale or exhale at different times, and that's okay. Next is for our shoulders. Let's roll those shoulders forward. I have my hands on the sides of my legs, and I'm drawing circles. I'm thinking about the size of a quarter, although mine are usually a little more like $50. I like that big circle. In Tai Chi, everything's small. And sometimes that's hard for us to do things small. Now, rotating those shoulders back probably feels like a little massage that you give yourself. Oh, here's Alexi. All right, so we're rolling those shoulders back, just showing you those little circles on the side of my legs as I roll those shoulders back. So we always go forward first, and that may feel a little bit awkward, and it should, because rolling those shoulders back, you realize that resets that posture. That rolls those shoulders and sets them back so that your posture is better. this, bad posture, here, roll back, that good posture. So that movement right there is good if you've ever been, you know, just slouching around. Maybe you've had bad posture in your comfy chair. We're not always aware or think about our posture when we're being comfortable. And so when you stand back up from that comfy chair, do a quick roll forward and then a roll back, and it can help reset posture. All right, next for our shoulders, we bring our hands up, palms up, and then we push them down in front of us. So we inhale as we come up, and we exhale as we come down. And you can do this at your own pace. This is a good one to practice on that principle of gentle resistance, as if we're moving through water. Inhale and exhale. I like to do this one seated so I don't have to worry about holding my weight. I can close my eyes and just really enjoy that movement of my shoulders and practicing my breath. The next is for our spine and involves our ball, where our hands are facing each other. Our shoulders remain relaxed and we have that good posture. We're going to separate the heavens and the earth, stretching our spine vertically. So the hand that's on top of our ball pushes down towards the ground, keeping that soft bend in the elbow. I'm not straightening out my arm and locking my joint. Soft bend that keeps an open joint or a song joint. The hand that's on bottom of our ball follows my spine all the way up and turns and pushes up towards the ceiling. Again, there's that soft bend in that elbow. Come back to my ball and switch, stretching that spine. Come back to our ball, stretch. In terms of breathing, inhale as you come to your ball and exhale as you separate those hands. Feel all those muscles in your back stretch as you separate those hands. Coming back to our ball. So let's talk about our breathing right quick. Whenever we inhale, typically we inhale through our nose, and then we exhale through pursed lips. So it kind of looks like you're whistling. And what that does when you exhale through pursed lips is slows down that airflow so that it takes twice as long to exhale that air as it does to inhale. So inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth through pursed lips. I like to hold my hands like this just to kind of check if I'm doing a shallow breath or a deep breath. When I shallow breathe, my chest rises more. When I deep breathe, my belly comes out more. Sometimes you have to practice that a little bit. It can be kind of tricky. And I kind of think it's funny that breathing is so challenging for us because we have to breathe. If we don't breathe, we'll pass out. But we're so bad at breathing. We are born breathing in a diaphragmatic way. When we're born, you can watch babies, their bellies rise and fall, and they completely fill their lungs with air, completely fill their lungs or empty their lungs with air. And as we get older, we get busy. And so as we're busy and we're doing things, it lends itself to holding our breath. And so we have to kind of relearn how to deep breathe. We want to completely expand those lungs. That helps our lungs be healthier. It helps encourage circulation in our body. And it helps kind of jostle our internal organs that keep our bodies functioning. So breathing does so many things. So that's our little breathing break. Now let's go back to our ball for our spinal exercise. The hand that's on top tells us the direction we're going to take that ball. So where I'm going this way, so I'm going to stop just above that leg, switch my hands, and come back across my body. This is another example of not going as far as I can go, just going on a short little trip across my body to warm up my spine horizontally. Switch my hands, come back across, switch, come back across. I like to inhale as I switch my hands and exhale as I take that trip across my body. Inhale as I switch, exhale as I take that trip. This is a really important move for you to learn and to really get the feel of how far to go. Way over here can start really pulling on your spine and it can hurt. It can also pull on your knee. So don't think you have to go further just because you can. It's just to the top of that thigh, staying in that frame and coming back across. So learning this move properly will help you with the waving hands in clouds movement. That is a torso movement, just like our spinal warm-up. So you'll see this again when we get to our waving hands in clouds. So the only thing different was my hand changed. It went from here to here. Well, see, my body didn't do anything different. My hand just changed. So our warm-ups prepare us for our Tai Chi movements. Give your body a little shake if that's not painful for you as we transition down to our lower body movements. This is the one I was talking about, the hips and the knees. These two movements serve us best standing. So if we need to use a chair to help us balance or a stable table nearby, then I got stuck on stable table rhyming. My brain quit working for a second. So make sure that what you use doesn't push across the floor whenever you put your weight into it. Make sure that it truly is stable so that it can do what you intend it to do. So we check in again with our body structure, that our feet are about shoulder width apart and our weight's on both legs. I have a soft bend in my knee. So here is that soft bend. Here is if I were to lock my knees and stand straight up. So you see, it's just a slight bend. It's not a squat. It's just a slight soft bend to keep that knee joint open. So for our first hip movement, we're going to shift our weight to one leg. We put the other heel out forward and our hands are back. Paws in the middle, toe back like a kickstand, hands come forward. The whole time our body stays upright. We're not leaning forward or back or to either side. And that's a challenge. Slight leg swing here. Let's do one more. That stable leg, maybe screaming at you, that is ready for a break. Always know that you can skip that arm movement and hold your chair, whether it be just one hand or both hands, and do that foot movement without the hands. The foot movement is really what's important. It's not the hand movement. The hand is a counterbalance. The hand gives it that Tai Chi feel. But in the name of what we're really trying to accomplish, skip the arm movement if you need that chair for that extra balance. And that's true for any of our lower body movements. Okay, so if you were to do this seated, you would have your heel out. You can have your hands back with your heel out. And then you'll bring your foot back to seated position. You're not going to come back here like you do whenever you're standing, because this puts you in the direction of falling out of your chair. And that's definitely what we're going. We're not for falling out of your chair. So we go here and here if you're doing this from a seated position. Next, for our hips, we have our hands. They're stacked like this. And we're going to go like this in the direction of our weight shift. And when we do this movement, we stop at the frame of our body. I'm not going to go way over here. You see, I start to lean. So we're not for leaning. This elbow will tell you when you've gone far enough if you keep it close to your body, because if you come here, it can't go any further unless you start moving it up your body. So stay within that frame. This is where I encourage you to look in a mirror when you do this movement and see where you naturally stop. I can see myself in the camera to see that I'm stopping right there at the frame of my body. So I'm going to shift the weight to the leg in that direction that I'm going. And then I'm going to take this leg and tap it out just a little bit. Shift the weight, keeping my body upright, and tap out. Bring it back, shift, tap, bring it back, shift, tap, bring it back. Let's do one more on each side. Shift, tap, bring it back, shift, tap, bring it back. So again, with the chair, skip the arm movements and simply shift the weight and tap the foot out. Shift the weight, tap the foot out. So that's the standing version using the chair. And the seated version looks like this. You can tap your leg out like this. Tap your leg out like this as you move your hands from side to side. You can do that, but that may bother your hip. So the seated version as instructed by Dr. Lamb looks like this. You bring those hands to the side and you lay that knee to the side. Bring it back up, shift, lay the other knee out to the side, and you can really feel that stretch in your hip. Even if you're able to do the standing version of this movement, I suggest that you at least sometimes sit and do this movement where you lay that knee open and bring it back, lay that knee to the side and bring it back. I highly suggest this movement to really help with the range of motion of your hip joint and really loosen up that hip. Because we sit a lot as a people, not just you, but I mean, I do too. I sit a lot, even though I have a standing desk, I drive. I mean, I don't stand when I drive, but when I sit and drive, it really tightens up these hip joints. And if these hip joints are really tight, you can start getting a lot of lower back pain because it's pulling. It's really, really tight. And so trying to keep these, the range of motion of your joints can help with your overall less tension in your body because everything is connected. All right, so that's the seated version of the hip, okay, side to side. If you feel kind of scared to lift that foot and tap to the side, that's completely understandable. This one leg, it's a lot to ask of this leg to hold your weight. So if you don't want to, or if you're scared to lift that foot and tap it out, just leave it on the floor. There's no weight on my foot. All my weight has been shifted here. Now I can shift it to that foot. And so that's a warm up of that hip joint. So I'm trying to give you options of what will work best for you. Some days you have great days and you can just do anything. You know, you're capable, you feel wonderful, and then other days your whole body hurts. And so sometimes we have to do it differently on different days based on how we're feeling. And there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, give yourself grace and always listen to your body. Next is for our knees. All right, we have our loose fist. So Tai Chi is kind of the fight we'll never have. We have our loose fist, and we have them down here by our hips. You can have them by your waist, as long as you're not holding tension in your shoulders. So we're going to shift our weight to one side, lift, tap and punch, bring that foot back. Let me scooch back a little so you can see my toe when I tap it out. Shift the weight, lift, tap and punch, and that punch is the opposite hand from the foot that taps out. That's a counterbalance. Shift, lift, tap and punch. Very good. Side to side. Shifting that weight as we put that foot out there. As you grow in this movement, you may want to lift that toe up off the floor as if there were a cup there and you're tapping on top of it. Don't have to do that now or ever. That's just a way to kind of grow and check your balance there. So with the chair, this is my invisible chair I'm holding. Skip the arm movement and tap that toe out. So not much different for the seated version. The next is also for our knees. And we're going to step out and shift the weight to the front foot. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what a small step it is. Shift, step, heel, toe. I'm going to shift the weight to that front foot, still keeping weight on the back foot. My back foot, the heel stays flat on the floor. If I were to lift my foot up, you saw my body, it started to come forward. And that's not what we want to do. We want to keep that upright posture. Shift the weight to that back foot. Bring the foot side by side. Shift, step, heel, toe. Shift and punch. I think I forgot to punch the first time. But that punch is the opposite of the foot that's out. Shift, step, heel, toe. Shift and punch. Bring it back. Side by side. Shift, step, heel, toe. Shift and punch. Bring it back. Side by side. Shift, step, heel, toe. Shift and punch. Shift it back. Side by side. So those are your 2 knee movements. If you do this in a seated version, you know, I told you a while ago, your toe would be pointed at, or your toe would come out. That's the first one. But you're not going to step forward out of your chair. You'll come out of your chair. That's not what we're trying to do here. So for the second knee movement, we put our heel out in the air, and you can punch the opposite hand if you want to, bringing it back. Put that heel in the air and bring it back. Now, that takes a lot of quadricep strength or big thigh strength to put that foot out there. One way to help you is to push the opposite leg into the floor, and that gives you a stable place to hold your body while you put that heel out there in the air. And then it engages muscle and makes your muscle stronger so that maybe you feel more comfortable at some point to do these movements standing. Last is for our ankles. We shift our weight to one leg and we go heel, toe, heel, toe. This is a great one for holding on to your chair. There's no arm movements. Just rocking that foot, heel, toe. Bring that foot back, shift the weight, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Shift the weight. Now let's go big toe, little toe. Scoot back. So I'm having side to side. That's working on the range of motion of that ankle joint, side to side. Bring that foot back, shift the weight, little toe, big toe, side to side. Probably feel that all the way up your leg as you move that foot side to side. Those 2 ankle movements are things you can do when you've sat around and you just need to have some circulation in your body. All right, so those are our warm-ups. Any questions? Are you good? I try to go a little bit faster through the warm-ups each time so we can spend more time on our actual Tai Chi movements. That doesn't mean that the warm-ups aren't important. It just is that. It's our warm-ups. It's to prepare us for our Tai Chi movements. Remember that on the YouTube channel, I'm reorganizing it to where there are playlists. Now, because y'all come through on Claris, y'all's are set up a little differently. But anybody who isn't using a Claris and accesses my page, I'm doing playlists. There's a playlist that's just called Tai Chi, and those are the ones that are just our kind of tutorial videos. So if you want to learn more or just review only your neck warm-up stretches, you can just click on that video. You don't have to go through the whole hour-long lesson to do a certain body part. You can go to whatever specific movement that you just want to focus on. So there's that. I'm going to have it organized better, and I'm going to delete the SOWEGA classes from February through April. And then as long as this class is current, I'll keep those up unless y'all tell me otherwise. You know, if you're going back to a class that was happening in March and that's useful for you, I'll be happy to leave it up. But I just don't want it to get cluttered with so many classes that you don't know how to find what you're looking for. Even with putting dates on things, it still can be a lot to scroll through. All right, so y'all are good to go. All right, so we're going to go over our first movement, which is commencement. Now, commencement, feet-wise, is a step forward. So when we do commencement, we shift the weight, and I do mirror image for you. We shift the weight to our right leg. We step forward with our left foot, that small step. So if I take to the side, it's just like with that knee warm up, a small step forward. So shift right, step heel toe left, shift left, and then bring that right foot forward. So the footwork of commencement is just that, a step forward. Shift right, step left, heel toe, shift left, bring that right foot forward. That's something we can handle, no problems. Let's go to our hands. So our hands start out at our sides, and we bring our hands up and our hands face each other. As we bring our hands up, we don't go any higher than our shoulder. If we start going higher, then you'll even start to feel a little tension there. So we come up with our hands are facing each other. Then we come down with our hands, come towards our hips, up our body, out away from us, but not locking our joint, keeping that soft bend, and then coming back to our bodies. So that one can be a little trickier, but I'll give you some tips on how to make it easier. So we come up, down, towards our hips, up, out, and back in. Dr. Lamb likes to use the ball scenario where he has this beautiful ball that he wants to show and share. Oh, look at this beautiful ball. Don't you want to play with it? No, they don't. So you bring that ball back, but you think, oh, I'll give them one more chance. Look, look, it is so pretty. Please, you want to play with it? No, they don't. So that is helpful for some people. So here's the ball. Oh, look at my ball. Look how pretty. It's so shiny. It's so fun to play with. You don't want to play with it? Okay. Oh, I'll give you one more chance. See, look how pretty. Nope, you don't want that ball. So that's one way that people find helpful. Up, down, in, up, out, and back. Now you probably noticed a little movement in my wrist. You don't have to do that movement. That's completely up to you. It's just an opportunity to do more. So whenever I come up, my fingers are more pointed towards the ground. When I come down, my fingers are more pointed towards the ceiling. Come in, up, out, and then back in. So when I come back in, my fingers point towards the ceiling, and that gets us ready for our second movement, that's open and close. So as I show you this first move and it feels a little complicated, just know that our second movement is nice breath in, open and close. So out and in, just like an accordion. You're pulling the accordion, you're pushing the accordion, but really it's a breath. So when I inhale, my hands naturally open, and when I exhale, they naturally close. And that is that breath, open and close. So if you don't do anything to your hands and you only take that breath, they're going to open and close all by themselves. So let's go back to our commencement. We want to put those together. So let's review the bottom. We're going to shift our weight to our right foot. We step left, heel toe, shift left, and bring that right foot forward. That's our footwork. The hand work starts to our side. We bring our hands up and down, in, up, out, and back in to get ready for open and close. All right, let's put those two together. So we start with our hands to our side. Our hands come up. Nothing's happening with our legs here. It's when our hands come down that we shift the weight to that right leg. Shift, step left, bring those hands in and up. Now I'm going to shift the weight to that left foot as my hands go out. Bring that right foot forward and my hands come back. So let's go over that several times. And commence. Up, down and shift. Step, in, up, out as I shift. Bring the foot forward and then my hands come back, open and close. So the open and close has no leg movement. Now, you might have noticed that my body came up a little as I inhaled, and then I went more into that bend as I exhaled. That's not necessary. That's just a way to engage more muscle. So you can stay here, open and close. So your knees just kept that soft bend, or you can have a little bit more movement in your knees. That's completely up to you and how it feels for your body. But listen to your body. It may hurt your knees to do too much movement there. So let's go over that movement again. And commence. Up, down, shift right. Step left, hands come in, up, shift weight as those hands go out. Bring that right foot forward, hands come back, open and close. Again, commence. Up, down and shift. Step, in, up, shift out as my hands go, or shift forward as my hands go out. Bring that foot forward, hands come back, open and close. Let's do it again, but this time I won't talk so much. Just follow me. and commence. Open and close. Hopefully it's getting easier each time we go through it. Let's do it again. And commence. Open and close. Let's do it again. And commence. Open and close. Do you have any questions about those first two movements? You good, Miss Legenia? Because this is new to you. Man, I talk a lot. All right, here we go. So, things that I want to remind you. With this commencement movement, the hand and the weight shift go together. So when my hands come down, that's when I'm shifting that weight to that right leg. And so when I think about shifting weight to a leg, there is a down movement to that weight shift. So hands come down, weight comes down. So if you're having a hard time thinking about when to do what, break it up like that. So when our hands come up, nothing's happening with our legs. But when my hand goes down, that's when I shift the weight to that left leg. So you can just practice the slow, smooth, and continuous movement, which is one of our principles of that just initial weight shift in commencement. So we come up and shift. We come up and shift. So, you know, we learned the leg part, which is that step forward, shift right, step left, shift left, bring that right foot forward. And then we practice the hand part, up, down, in, up, out, and back. So now, and we've practiced them both together, but sometimes we need to break it down with those movements together. And that's what we do whenever we come up and down. We just do that several times and get a feel for the down movement of our hands and the down movement of that weight shift, up and down. So we know what's next. We're going to step out with our left foot, down, step. Now let's do some more stuff with our hands. Whenever we stepped forward, our weight is on both legs, right? So it's about 50-50 on our legs. When our hands are down, we bring them in and up. Okay, so let's put those things together. We come up, shift down. Step left, bring those hands in and up. Hands come up, down, shift. Step left, in and up. So this next movement is another example of how our weight shift and our hands go together. So we're in this position, and maybe my legs aren't quite that far apart, but we're in this position, and we're going to shift the weight to that leg that is stepped out, which is our left leg, and we shift the weight as those hands go out. So hands come down, weight goes down to that left leg or to the right leg. Now we go shift out as our hands go out. So see, the movement went with the weight shift. Shift, bring the foot forward, and then gather back for open and close. So if you think of it in terms of where your weight is being shifted and where your hands are going, then it may be helpful to have more of that flow when you put the pieces together. So let's do that again. Commencement and open and close. Here we go. And commence. Open, close. Don't forget to breathe. I know we're doing a lot. And that, like I said, this is when we tend to hold our breath. When I'm doing this movement and doing my more proper breathing, I inhale as I come up, and then I exhale whenever I'm ready through that movement. And then here is an inhale and exhale. So let me go through that movement, and I'm going to just do my natural breath. That doesn't mean you're going to breathe exactly like me. It just gives you an idea of one example. So here I inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So I thought it was 3 breaths, but I was afraid to say it's 3 breaths without trying it first. But those 2 movements there are 3 breaths for me. So try it with your natural breathing, and don't feel like you have to make it 3 breaths. Make it what you naturally feel. Okay, so let's do the movement thinking about breathing. Okay, here we go. I catered that movement to my breath. You have that luxury when you're practicing on your own. Sometimes when we're in class, we're following that movement. We're following the pace of the instructor, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's why I encourage you to practice on your own so you can do it at your pace and really focus on breath as you go through the movement. So it's not just about doing that movement correctly, but doing that movement without holding your breath. Because we think, oh, I'll just get through it and then I'll just take a big breath, whew, that I made it through. When you're taken away from the internal experience of Tai Chi, which requires you to breathe. Okay, so let's go through with some more of our breath. Here we go. So there, I went a little bit faster, and it was 2 breaths. And by the time I got to the open and close, I was inhaling. So did you see the Tai Chi police come in and arrest me? No, they didn't. So there are lots of ways to experience the movement and don't feel like, oh gosh, I was ready to exhale whenever I opened and I'm supposed to inhale there. So don't get yourself stressed thinking about breath, but go through the movement and make sure you are breathing, because breathing is important. Even if you have to wait for that exhale before you start the inhale to open and exhale to close. Just play around with that movement. This week, that's your homework, is to really focus on breath with the movement. Now you might think, listen, chick, I can't remember the movement, much less remember to breathe. That's an okay place to be. So just work on the movement. But I'm encouraging you to think about breathing. So there I did those 3 breaths again, but I noticed when I came back, I finished the exhale before I went into my open and close movement of all right, here we go. And commence. Up. Down. Step. Shift. Step. Open. Close. That's our first 2 movements. Next week, we're going to add our single whip, which looks like this. Shift, step, push, turn, separate, following that left hand. So that's the single whip to the right. And then, because in Tai Chi we do everything balanced, we will do a single whip to the left. Just not right after the other. There's a waving hands and clouds in between those. But that's the next movement in our series of movement of our basic 6 of Tai Chi for falls prevention. All right, do you feel better about this movement of commencement and open and close? So maybe you're not ready and 100% ready to move forward, but I'm never going to leave anybody behind. We will always do these movements in this order. And some weeks we'll focus more on other things, but we'll always go back to the beginning. So to finish our class, we always give ourselves a little fist massage. If you're not used to exercising, you may get a little sore from class, especially as we shift our weight from one leg to the other, and we're really engaging muscle that we may not all have been engaging. And you may get sore. And soreness is a buildup of lactic acid. And this right here helps break up that lactic acid and helps that soreness, helps that healing of that muscle. So anywhere you have a little bit of soreness, give yourself a little fist massage. Next, we intentionally gather tension. So and then we release it. We gather and release. Gather and release. One more, gather and release. Big shoulder circle, inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. One more. And then to end our class, we have our right fist, loose fist, that represents our strength. Our right hand with our fingers together, that represents our friendship. Our thumb comes to our side, that represents our humility. Strength, friendship, and humility. And we put those together, and in mutual respect, we say, Namaste.
Namaste.
So there you go. We are Tai Chi'd for the week. Do y'all have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions, but I enjoyed the lesson.
Well, good. I'm glad you did. It will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube if you want to revisit anything that I said. You have a button that contacts me if you think later, oh, I do have a question. That button will email me and I will get back with you happy to help you in any way. You don't have to wait until next Tuesday to get in touch with me. So always let me know how I can help you in your journey to be better with Tai Chi. Okay?
Thank
So
you.
y'all have a great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Jennifer.
Bye.